All right, we're going to start with Sister Midnight, directed by Karan, because it doesn't look like Karen, it's like Karan Kandhari. This is a movie from India. It's got two main characters. It's got quite a few characters, but the main character is Uma, played by Radhika Apte. And keep your eyes out for Radhika Apte because, boy, oh boy, she carries this movie. She has to carry this movie, and she does carry this movie. And I think she could be someone to watch. I could see her being snapped up pretty fast by the Hollywood system and finding her way into some movies you may not expect. And Gopal is played by Ashok Patak. And what is this? What is this movie? What is Sister Midnight? Now, I posted the movie poster for this on CinemAddicts in our Facebook group, which is a great group to get a part of if you are not part of Facebook group. CinemAddicts, it's a place that actually is not super toxic, and people love to talk about movies there, which is the point. And there's some really great people we've met there and that continue to come in there and contribute with suggestions every single day and discussions on various movies. Even when we disagree, it seems to be a very respectful place. So I'll just put that out there. I put up the poster, and it's obviously a play on the famous poster of Taxi Driver. But instead of Taxi Driver, he's standing there, there's that yellow border, and he's got the taxi behind him. Robert De Niro, of course, very famous shot. And in the shot for the poster of Sister Midnight, you've got our main character, Uma, and she's standing holding a mop, and it's nighttime, and behind her you see some goats and buildings and stuff, and you're just kind of, what is this movie? And that is kind of the point. What is this movie? It's an odd movie, but a very interesting movie. First of all, if you're thinking of movies from India, you might have a very stereotype kind of view of what you're going to get. Singing and dancing and bright colors and lots of kind of goofy action and kind of a lot of things you'd expect in the common export from India that we tend to get, even though there's like hundreds and hundreds of different types of movies that come out of India. That's kind of the ones that you might expect, especially ones that might make it to America. This movie is a little more unique. First of all, some people have been commenting and saying, oh, it's got Wes Anderson vibes. And I can kind of see how that might happen. And I can see people like, oh, I'm out. Eric being one of them probably, and myself a lot of times too. But the filmmakers in this movie had actually said that they were more inspired by Buster Keaton than they were by Wes Anderson. Now, that really might make you go, what the heck is this movie? Buster Keaton. And once again, I don't think that's a thoroughly great comparison because this is not a slapstick silent movie in any way. Basic story, or basic setup. Uma, at the very beginning of this movie, you see her on a train, and then you see her in a very small home with Gopal, her brand new husband, who you get to figure out pretty quickly has been part of a arranged marriage. This is modern times. She was in part of an arranged marriage. So you get the idea right away. She doesn't have a lot of connection with this guy and doesn't know him that well. And there's a lot of shots in the early parts of this movie of her kind of just staring at him and him staring at her, and very little conversation, a lot of frustration on her part because you can see that you don't know anything about her past at all, other than she does not seem well-matched, suited for domestic life. Very quickly you get that. And like I said, she's very small. So she's on a very busy street. Their apartment, I guess you'd call it an apartment or home or whatever it is, on a very busy street. For example, when they open their front door, it literally just looks out on this bustling street. If you had this giant bustling street in India, in a city in India, not in the country, in a city, just bustling immediately outside of your front door, like no yard, no even post stamp yard, nothing. Just there it is, the street. And they're just a row of these kind of one room apartments, just the whole street's lined with them. And when I say one room, I mean, it's like maybe 20 feet by 20 feet. That's her whole world. So the first part of this movie is just her stifled in that environment. He leaves every day, goes to work, and she's in this apartment. It's supposed to be domestic, apparently. And you can just kind of see her almost, I guess that's the Buster Keaton side of it, right? Almost silently, as far as not talking to people very much. Although eventually she starts talking to a neighbor, a woman next door, who doesn't really take her under her wing. The neighbor is also a little bit short with her and is frustrated with her. But she also identifies really quickly that Uma doesn't know the first thing about cooking or home housekeeping or any of that stuff. She's just, and it's not like she's a spoiled princess. You don't get that feeling either. Once again, you don't know her background. You just get the feeling it's just not her. It's not her personality. It's like she is a very much more kind of, she's almost more of a brash personality, like a very direct personality, a very brusque personality. In fact, early on, she's swearing and he gets really upset. Gopal gets really frustrated with her because she just swears and stuff. And it's like, you get that, he doesn't say it, but it's kind of like, well, this isn't very ladylike. That's the basic setup. And then this movie becomes really almost more of a character study of her trying to find her place in this new life and this new world. Well, she's obviously not going to be able to spend the whole movie and her whole life just sitting in this house, waiting for him to come home, cooking eventually, housekeeping eventually, and just doing nothing. That's just not her. You could just, that's not her at all. And obviously maybe a commentary on the role of genders in Indian society and stuff like that. But it's not super dour. It's, for some people, it might be super boring because it's, plot-wise, it's very simple. But character-wise, I think it's very interesting. And what makes it interesting, I can't spoil certain things about this movie because there are some turns. But she has to find a way to kind of carve out her own identity in this new life that she has. First of all, you probably get the feeling right out of the gate, like the way I'm talking about this. There isn't a lot of romance between these two. Now, they may eventually work towards that, but at the beginning, it's we're going to lay next to each other in this small bed in this tiny apartment, and it'll be able to build a barrier, but you get the feeling like, yep, we're not touching each other. We're stiff as a board. We don't know each other. This is it. We're just using this to sleep. You kind of get that vibe as well. They may or may not forge more as time goes on in this movie. Let's just say here is the big, how do I do this? Without giving it away, this movie takes some huge turns. First of all, let's say she finds an avocation, a job of sorts that gets her out of the house at night. And you saw a mop, so you might be able to figure out maybe a cleaner of some sort, building cleaner, helps with some kind of a cleaning crew. Let's just say she starts to have some other, at least something to do with her life when he's away and in the evenings when she has nothing to do. Because he's gone, it kind of seems to be a lot, like just at all hours. And then it takes some really different turns. And I'm going to stay vague because I think the surprise of this movie is, I would say it's almost a 2-hour movie. And I was like, oh boy, I don't know. I don't watch the whole movie of her just being upset and unhappy with her just being stifled life. It definitely goes some different places. Once again, I can't tell you because if I tell you, it'll give away some things. But it takes some very drastic turns in tone and in the entire genre of what this movie is that I did not see coming. And when it started happening, because it doesn't happen like a blast, an immediate turn. There are some slow things that happen. You're like, wait, what? And then you start to ask questions like, wait, what's going on here exactly? She starts to get very sickly, some other thing. I'm just going to leave it at that. But when the turns start happening and there's certain music drops that start happening that seem very out of place in the movie and they mirror the very odd narrative and character turns that start to occur in this movie, I think people are going to either be in or totally out at that point. But I got more and more in as that went, as those changes started happening in the last half of this movie. Big, drastic changes. I was really down for it. There's some, I'm going to say, I guess this isn't a spoiler. There's some things that happen with stop motion, which I totally didn't see coming. Some people might find totally goofy and distracting. I found them awesome and weird and crazy and cool. And like I said, there's some music drops that are very discordant to what you might consider in a movie like this. And I think those worked really well as well. There's some just amazing character turns that she has. And it becomes an origin story of sorts. And I'm not going to say an origin of what, but it becomes an origin story of sorts for her. I think Sister Midnight is pretty darn fantastic. For me, this just really hit the spot as a unique and a really unusual, and talk about hidden gems. I think Sister Midnight could be one of those hidden gems. And if it gets the right eyeballs on it, this could get a lot of love as time goes on. I think it's going to be one of those movies that people discovers. So I'm going to go 4.5 stars for Sister Midnight. And once again, Radhika Apte, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, She is fantastic, just in general, but in this movie specifically. I haven't seen her in anything else, so I cannot vouch for her other work. I'm guessing she's probably done a bunch of other work because if you're in the India film industry, you probably made like 10 movies a year or something. Anyway, on we go. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. For more movie and television reviews and interviews, please subscribe to my Deepest Dream channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, thanks so much for your support. Take care.